Okay, let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive into the Lötschberg tunnels, which are, well, one of Switzerland's most vital economic arteries. But we're also exploring a hidden truth that's literally sealed inside its bedrock.
And what's so compelling here is the immediate, almost unimaginable contradiction it presents. Today, you have high-speed trains passing, I think it's about 110 times a day, carrying thousands of passengers, tons of freight, all of it passing about 30 meters above a mass grave. It's a sealed tomb, and it holds 25 Italian miners who were trapped inside the mountain back in 1908.
That context just completely reframes the experience of traveling that route. It raises the essential question. What could possibly lead engineers to make a permanent decision to seal those men inside?
Well, it was a true catastrophe. The sources describe it as an underground tsunami. And following that, the engineers were under just immense pressure. They made a radical choice.
Which was?
To permanently seal the flooded gallery, abandon any kind of retrieval effort, and then physically deviate the entire tunnel path around that section, all to save the project.
So our mission in this deep dive is to explore that fierce economic pressure that drove the construction in the first place, then the astonishing technical feat that ultimately saved it. And finally, looking forward, the impossible ethical choice Switzerland faces in 2026.
Yes, there's a petition now demanding they finally retrieve those bodies after, 118 years?
It's a remarkable convergence of historical debt meeting modern infrastructural necessity.
It really is.
To understand the weight of that original decision, we should probably set the stage back in, say, 1906. This was the absolute peak of Switzerland's railway race, a real drive to control the north-south transit across the Alps.
Precisely. You had the huge success of the Gotthard tunnel, which had been running since 1882. It was pulling in 50 million francs a year in revenue, and the Simplon tunnel had just opened.
But Bern, the capital, was sort of left out.
It was geographically isolated from the south. Goods had to take these costly, time-consuming detours through Lausanne or Lucerne.
And the sources make it clear that Bern was, effectively hemorrhaging cash. The canton was losing something like 20 million francs in annual trade because of this gap in the network.
A loss that was seen as, politically and economically unacceptable. So the Lötschberg was born from stark necessity, not just convenience. It was a vital project.
And the goals were aggressive.
Very. Reduce the journey time to Italy by 2 hours, and crucially, capture 30% of all north-south freight traffic.
30%?
Yeah.
That's a significant share of the market.
It is. The project scope was immense. 14.6 kilometers straight through the Bernese Alps. The initial budget was 45 million francs, with a very rapid 5-year completion timeline.
And to meet that kind of speed, they needed a huge, dedicated labor force. The source material calls it a human machine.
3,000 men, mostly Italian, all assembling at these construction sites.
And the conditions sound brutal.
They were, and they reflected the urgency of the timeline. They lived in makeshift barracks in places like Goppenstein and Kandersteg, and critically, there was no proper hospital on site.
They were just pushing through the rock 5 meters a day with explosives.
Yes, and the expectation was that the work would continue no matter what, regardless of accidents or weather.
That relentless pace really set the stage for the double tragedy that struck in 1908.
Right. The first devastating blow was on February 29, 1908. It was a particularly harsh winter. This happened on the north side, at Goppenstein, where the workers were sleeping in these hastily built accommodations.
The avalanche.
A huge one. An estimated 50,000 cubic meters of snow moving at about 200 kilometers per hour. It just pulverized the workers' hotel and barracks instantly.
The human cost of that pace became immediately evident.
Yes. 12 bodies were recovered. 13 were never found, just swept away by the slide. 25 men killed in that one event.
And the response was telling.
Construction didn't even pause. Work resumed the very next day.
No question of stopping the momentum. The recovered bodies were quickly buried. The missing were declared dead. And what's so distressing is that the Italian families were never even informed of the burial sites. They just lost them.
Exactly. It was an erasure of history in the name of economic necessity. But then, just 5 months later, the mountain delivered the second, and much more definitive, strike.
This was the underground tsunami.
On July 24th, 1908, around 2:30 in the morning, the miners were working deep inside, about 2,700 meters from the north entrance when they hit it.
And this wasn't just a regular aquifer.
No, they struck a large pocket of highly pressurized fossil glacial water. Ancient water, sealed under tremendous geological pressure. Within seconds, the water became this powerful high-velocity jet, and then the entire rock wall just gave way.
The force must have been astronomical. The description of an underground tsunami feels accurate. The flow rate was 10,000 liters per second.
Of frigid water mixed with tons of mud and rock. It was an instantaneous annihilation. The 25 Italian men in that section were swept away, crushed, drowned, and then buried under all that sediment.
And the flooding didn't just stop.
It was so extensive that it took a full 6 months just for the water to subside enough for them to even assess the damage. And when they finally could, they found 1,300 meters of the tunnel were completely blocked.
So at that point, any kind of retrieval attempt would have been
impossible. The search was declared too dangerous, too costly, and it would have guaranteed years of further delays. And this is the moment they made that truly radical engineering decision.
to abandon that flooded section entirely.
Yes, seal it off forever and then dig a new deviating route 500 meters higher up the mountain face. They simply sealed the men in. They became, in effect, structural losses.
But that decision didn't solve the financial crisis. It must have exacerbated the delays and the costs.
The financial situation was dire. The original budget of 45 million francs had already ballooned to 90 million. Shareholders were panicking. The Bernese government was seriously considering abandoning the whole thing.
And yet they persisted.
The driving force was the chief engineer, a man named Alphonse Lair. He was consumed by one goal, achieving a successful junction. He was using the Gotthard as his benchmark. He wanted to match or even surpass its precision.
And that focus led to a genuinely extraordinary technical achievement, especially for the time. They were just relying on trigonometry and theodolites. No GPS, no lasers.
The junction moment came on March 31st, 1911. The final survey showed a remarkable deviation, only 10 centimeters horizontally and 33 centimeters vertically across more than 14 kilometers.
Better than the Gotthard, a world record for precision at the time.
A triumph of Swiss engineering, certainly, but one secured at an immense financial and human price.
What was the final balance sheet?
The final project cost soared to 138 million francs. That's triple the initial budget. And the overall human toll was 64 fatal accidents.
That puts the safety record into a stark kind of comparison with its contemporaries.
It does. I mean, the Lötschberg's rate of 4.4 deaths per kilometer was much lower than the Gotthard's, which was a tragic 13 deaths per kilometer. But the Simplon tunnel was even lower, at 3.4. But the defining tragedy here is, of course, the 25 unrecovered men.
And what was the official coal designation used for them? The ones sealed inside the mountain.
They were classified officially as technical losses.
Technical losses. That phrase it almost defines them as equipment, not people.
It was a reflection of the priority given to the infrastructure. Their families received very small compensation amounts, maybe between 800 and 1,200 francs. And there was no plaque, no official recognition. The abandoned galleries were just sealed and marked on the plans as prohibited dangerous zones.
A foundational success built on official silence, but one that undeniably cemented Bern's economic future. So let's fast forward to the modern era and see the legacy this railway project created.
The Lötschberg today is immensely profitable. The old tunnel from 1913, the one with the sealed section, still generates about 85 million francs a year. But the real engine is the new base tunnel, opened in 2007. That generates a massive 320 million francs.
So combined, we're looking at about 340 million in annual revenue. That makes it Switzerland's second most profitable railway axis.
It is fundamental to the European economy. It's the vital Germany-Italy artery. The sources highlight that it saves the country from about 700,000 trucks on the roads annually, and it facilitates 3% of Switzerland's entire GDP.
And an engine of that scale requires constant modernization, which brings us to this colossal 2026 project.
Right. This modernization is split into three crucial phases. The first is partial doubling. The base tunnel has a 20-kilometer single-track bottleneck, which limits capacity. Addressing that will cost 1 billion francs.
Right. And what about the digital brain upgrade?
That's phase 2, implementing something called ETCS Level 3. It's basically the ultimate railway GPS and signaling system. What's fascinating is this allows trains to follow each other at 3-minute intervals, not the current 7. It doubles the usable capacity without digging any new track.
Impressive efficiency. And the third phase is where history and the present collide.
Exactly. The safety modernization of the old 1913 tunnel. The new European standard mandates emergency exits every 500 meters. The old ones are 1,000 meters apart, so they need to dig 14 new cross galleries connecting the old tunnel to the new one.
And here's where the logistical and ethical implications really peak. To dig these new galleries, the engineers have to pass within 30 meters of those sealed 1908 sections.
The proximity is almost shocking. The plans show that the new evacuation gallery number 6, which is planned for kilometer 2.7, the exact location of the flooding, would pass only 12 meters from the abandoned gallery where those 25 bodies likely lie.
So after 118 years, the simple act of modernizing the tunnel creates a window where retrieval is actually technically possible.
The technical feasibility is there. Modern boring machines could access that area in just a few days. The estimated recovery cost is between 15 and 20 million francs, and it would take about 3 months of focused work.
But the Swiss railways, the operators are firmly against it. They cite 3 major risks.
The first and most compelling for them is the risk of collapse. The 1908 galleries are unstable. Drilling nearby could trigger a cave-in, which could block the main operational tunnel. That would shut down 3% of Switzerland's GDP.
A massive operational risk.
It is. The second risk they cite is contamination. 118 years of decomposition in stagnant water. It carries bacteriological hazards, maybe heavy metals. Disturbing it could contaminate the local groundwater supply for Kandersteg.
A serious public health concern. And the third risk is purely legal and financial.
Yes. If remains are identified, Switzerland faces the potential for millions in legal claims from Italy for compensation. Plus the substantial costs of official repatriation, funerals, all of it.
So that brings us to the present, with this debate now highly public, poised between a moral imperative and economic risk.
A petition demanding the retrieval has already gathered 50,000 signatures. The Bernese parliament is scheduled to vote on this complex matter in March 2026. If it's approved, the excavation window is very short. It would have to be between July and September 2027.
If we connect this back to the bigger picture, the duality of the Lötschberg is just remarkable. On one side, you have the cutting-edge technological miracle of the base tunnel, earthquake-proof, built with 0 fatalities.
And yet only 30 meters above that pinnacle of modern engineering lies an intact 1908 cemetery. The contrast between that drive for modern capacity and the unaddressed human cost of progress is, while it's striking, the mountain still hasn't given them back.
So what does this all mean for us today? This debate is a profound confrontation between the demands of modern infrastructure, the need for speed, capacity, safety, and the moral weight of historical decisions. The men became, as one source puts it, the mountain now.
This raises an important question for you to consider. If the vote in 2026 fails and the bodies remain sealed because of those risks of collapse or contamination, what does that enduring classification, technical losses, tell us about the value we assign to human life when it stands against overwhelming economic necessity, both 100 years ago and today?
Something to mull over the next time you hear a train pass through the heart of the Alps.